at home in front of your screen. So yeah, just say hi to everyone. Yes, thank you, William. Yes. All right, let me quickly introduce myself. I'm Eunice and I'm an adult educator with IAL. I also run my learning consultancy called RE Training and Consultancy, where I work with organizations to innovate their learning capabilities to thrive in the challenging business environment. I'm sure all of you who are attending today's session are curious and want to find out more about this buzzword, innovation. What comes to mind when you think of innovation? If you can, just quickly type in inside the chat, okay? What comes to mind when you think of innovation? Please share your thoughts. So I'm just giving you 1 minute. Oh, okay, thanks. Ong Niang, right? You're attending ACLP. All right, thanks, Fiona. Yes, innovation is a new way of doing things. Interesting. Okay, any other thoughts on what is innovation to you? What is innovation to you? What comes to mind when you think of innovation? Please type into the chat. All right, thanks, William. Thanks, Hui Sim. Yeah, we all know that innovation is something very important for organizational growth and performance improvement. Yes, it involves creativity. It involves an effective way of doing something that we are so used to. Thank you for all that thoughts coming in fast and furious. All right, and today we are so privileged to have 3 speakers to share with us their research, technologies, and their experience in dealing with innovation. First, we have Dr. Chen Zhan. Dr. Chen spends her time looking at the TAE landscape with research on adult education, professional development, learning technologies, and innovation. She has conducted several research on the TAE landscape and has a few interesting papers on how the TAE landscape is progressing and coping with innovation. I actually personally am very interested in one of her recent published papers about adult learners' perception on online learning due to COVID-19, because this is something that, I think all of us are involved in, and, that new norm and the new way of learning can impact all of us as adult educators. Next on the lineup, we have Mr. Patrick Loh. Patrick brings his years of experience with leading companies such as Microsoft, IBM, and HP. And he's currently with Huawei and will be sharing with us some interesting success stories on the use of learning tech in organizations. And finally, we have Dr. Linda Wee, who has worked in innovative projects across several organizations. She will be sharing with us tips on how companies, and I think how individuals like you and me can create that space for innovation. As we are having this session, if you have any questions for our 3 speakers, you can post your questions in the Q&A throughout the session, and we will spend some time answering those questions at the end of the session. So without further ado, let's welcome Dr. Chen Zhan. Over to you, Dr. Chen.
Thank you, Eunice, and a very good afternoon to dear colleagues and friends here. Let me get my slides down. So many things happening. Okay. Very happy again to join you all in this InnoLog session, and me and together with other panelists are going to share some of our observations and some practice about innovation. I'll start by setting up with the context and talk about why businesses innovate and how innovation is associated to business performance using findings from our IL research. And I will then share a few principles to support innovation, and finally a case study of how training providers leverage technology and innovation to support seamless blended learning in the TAE sector. And we know in this increasingly digitalized world, technology and innovation are becoming the key to transforming enterprises. And it is the DNA for growth, as our title says. So for organizations, the ability to get ahead of competition is one of the most significant reasons to innovate. We know the futures of work and learning are also changing. Successful, innovative businesses know how to respond to rapidly changing customers, technologies, and competitive trends. And adapting to evolving workplace dynamics and practices, for example, the gig economy, freelancing, and contracting are also becoming a way of life. So how businesses make the most out of these changes is an important question. And this requires new ways of doing things. I put a graph here. This was a report by McKinsey about a decade ago. They found that 84% of the companies consider innovation to be the key to their future success. This is even more so today. Businesses that do not innovate will eventually die. In fact, according to the reports, only 12% of Fortune 500 companies from 1955 are still in business, and half of the S&P 500 companies will be replaced in the next 10 years, which is why it's so important to be able to quickly respond to the changes and to come up with new ways of doing things. When we talk about innovation, and at the very beginning, Eunice also invited your views about how you see innovation, and I see that Fiona and others point that it is a new way of organizing things, a new way of doing things. Here, we follow OECD's categories of innovation and include product innovation, process innovation, organizational innovation, and marketing innovation. For example, for product innovation, we mean making significant changes in products and services, or develop new products and services. But I think one thing that we should highlight is that innovation needs to value add to the organization or to the community that the organization is serving. We've prepared a quick poll. Maybe you can share with us, has your organization conducted any of the following innovation activities? You can choose, it's a multiple choice questions. So in which areas has the organization or yourself conducted or embarked innovation during the last 12 months? Have you done anything in relation to product innovation, process innovation, organizational innovation, restructuring, or change of workplace practices, external relationships, building new partnerships, for example, or marketing innovation, going digital, new ways of reaching out to your customers? Are we able to see the results now? Okay, cool. I think a lot of innovation happens regarding the process and organizational innovations. And you can see about 56% are involved in process innovation. Maybe you can share with us in the chat also, or later, how and what kind of innovation activities you have conducted. Let's maybe take a look at the TAE sector. In our last national survey of the TAE landscape, that is reported in 2020, we found that actually the training providers were actively involved in innovation. 82% of the participants, the training providers, reported that they innovated in at least one of the following areas. And we can see actually the quite high participation for training providers that serving the following sectors: retail, healthcare, security, education, and professional services, to help their learners adapting to the new changes. We know that innovation is the DNA for growth, but does it really help our organization? How is it linked to the business performance? Here, our findings show that actually a larger proportion of training providers that innovate in all four areas we mentioned earlier reported an increase in the business performance in terms of profitability, total sales, market share, and client satisfaction. But we know, despite of all the massive investments of time, resources, money, innovation remains a frustrating pursuit in many companies. It is so hard to sustain innovation, and the innovation initiatives frequently fail. You can see 11 out of 12 startups fail, 19 out of 20 product innovation fail. So how do we sustain those information, and what are the barriers that are there stopping us from innovation? We asked our training providers, and here these are the top barriers they shared with us. They say they do not have the skilled personnel who can organize innovation and who understands what's happening in the market. For instance, some organization would like to embark to start some investment in technology. However, technology is changing so fast. They want someone with the right skill to support the innovation efforts. That is something that they are looking for and is currently lacking for some organizations. And another frequently reported barrier is cost to innovation. There are high costs to produce, for instance, during COVID, many of the organizations have moved their face-to-face training to online, but the high cost to produce high quality pre-recorded videos or protect copyrighted online materials is something that slows down their pace. And also there are heavy cost investment in technology, manpower, high cost of online course, content development, to implement systems like TMS, LMS, if they haven't impacted those efforts yet. And of course, there is a lack of time. That's all, because business is ongoing thing. So everyone are working against the clock. So dedicated time and resources is so needed in the organizations. And there are also restrictions imposed due to COVID because of people are not being able to gather together, because innovation normally happens across the organization, and it kind of slows down the space or the speed of innovation if the different teams cannot come together. But we do think that there are some starting point, or there are some ways we can start to navigate the route to innovation. Unfortunately, there is no magic formula for all organizations. As with any strategic question, we know the answer will be company specific and contingent on factors such as the rate of the technological change, the rate of growth in their core markets, the degree to which customer needs are being met, and also the company's strength and the priority areas of growth. But as a start, I think asking these questions that are listed here may help to plan your way to innovate. Sorry. To articulate, we think this. For instance, we want to ask whether there is such a need or desire for the company to innovate. Do our customers need a change or looking for a change? Do we hear their the desirability for innovation there? And can we deliver a solution for a new solution for customers' needs? Or do we have the money and the resources to do this? What kind of value add it will bring to the organization? And how this innovation effort and strategy align with the overall business strategy? And how do we dedicate the right team and people to make this work? So start asking these kind of questions, and then you will see a clear picture to start your way to innovation. Research show that strong innovators are most often lean innovators. The lean philosophy we know emphasizes speed as much as it does quality, efficiency, and the elimination of waste. We need to think of lean innovation as a process that drives more efficient learning, because to maximize success, we know innovation happens across teams and in almost can happen in almost all the aspects of our work. We can always find ways of improving things, but how to effectively capture these rich lessons we've learned and how to make them readily available to everyone within the organization, so people are on the same page towards the same goal. So this is something that's key to successful innovation. Another principle is to apply lean processes. Lean and efficient product development include short cycles and iterations, SOPs, and also changing SOPs. Keep updating the SOPs. The quick modeling and testing of new products and services. We hear from our organizations that before COVID, it normally takes about 6 months or even to 1 year to launch a new training program. But some of our organizations, they are very fast to respond to the needs of the change. For instance, during lockdown, a couple of the organizations saw the need for training in how to facilitate collaboration using Zoom to organizations. So they launched the program within 2 weeks. The process of development has cut down tremendously from the previous 6 months to 1 year to 2 weeks. But of course, this is not, the product is not anything perfect. But this allows them to prototype the new offering and to get customer input fast. Many companies, we know, they wait until a new product is perfected before designing an elaborate launch. Fast innovators test their prototypes with customers. They worry less about the imperfections that they know are there, and focusing more on the insights they may gain from customer reactions and feedback. And they make that deliberate effort. These are incorporated then quickly in the next design iteration. And again, another prototype is developed and tested. So using this adaptive approach, good innovation systems take advantage of the experience curve to speed up the entire process. And also, lastly, to dedicate people and resources to the task. If innovation is about 10% of 100 people's responsibility, you can guarantee that little innovation will take place. But if it's 100% of 10 people's job, things will start to happen. So assigning and incentivizing a dedicated team with the job of moving, it can move the things fast and to an it's essential organizational strategy that needs to take. I think Steven Johnson, who is the author of many books on innovation, captures this very well in his famous quote. If you look at history, innovation doesn't come just from giving people incentives. It comes from creating environments where their ideas can connect. So creating this innovative learning culture where new ideas can connect and giving people ownership, autonomy, and empowerment are key, and these are probably the DNAs to successful innovations. Back to our TAE sector, I'd like to give an example of how training providers apply technology and also some innovation to provide seamless learning experience to the learners. The example I'm talking about is a workplace safety program conducted for adult learners from the maritime industry. To ensure their offering is relevant to industry needs, the training providers actually developed the curriculum in collaboration with industry authorities. They keep in constant talks with the industry, and they are informed of all the latest developments within the industry, the requirements within the industry. So their curriculum, the content part, actually meets the needs and is updated to the industry requirements. And secondly, the course adopts both classroom and workplace learning, and it is organized in a sandwiched way. That is, the learners transit across the different learning environments back and forth, not in a sequential way. Between workplaces and classrooms at an educator, and they also assign workplace supervisor. They feedback to each other frequently on the learner's progress and performances. For example, in the scaffolding course, the learner is assigned to the workplace supervisor and to guide him during his initial days of working. After observation and supervision, supervising this learner, the workplace supervisor then provide feedback to the educator on the strength and weakness in the performance of the learner, so that the educator can be informed of the progress of the learner's progress, and also can improve the training to better prepare the learner in the workplace for the future. Such communication between the adult educator and work supervisor is on a regular basis, and it enables them to they took those feedback seriously and build them into their teaching and coaching. And during the classroom training, one thing that impressed the learner and also researchers is that they adopt the latest technology. They're using simulations with virtual reality to provide learners with more authentic and experiential learning. And these simulation sessions for the course take place immediately after the classroom teaching of theories. Normally happens on the same day or within a week. So before these simulations, learners are given a briefing to recap what they've learned earlier in the classroom on the theory part. After completing the simulation session, the learners identify and address gaps in their knowledge. And there's this debriefing session for them to discuss the issues they met with the instructor and with the peer learners as a group. So this debriefing is an example of a collaborative learning where feedback from multiple sources, in this case from both the learners, the peer learners, and also their educators, are encouraged to make judgment. And also the learners themselves are encouraged to make judgment. The simulator, as we can see clearly, is an example of using tech-enabled space. This is located in the training provider's premises, and it is seamlessly followed by the face-to-face debriefing in the space of the simulator. So we can see there are quite a lot of new ways of designing and organizing the courses in this program. This case provides us an example of how this training provider with established links to the industry can contribute to ensure the content is up to date and highly relevant and up to national standards. And they also use different learning spaces in the classroom, workplace to integrate theory and practice. And the experience that they bring in technology and also build that upon briefing and debriefing sessions. The regular communication between adult educator and the workplace supervisors help to support the learners throughout the whole learning journey. This is quite different from attending multiple courses that often stand alone and seem to be fragmented. Here we see learners were provided with good opportunities to make sense, to make connections between theory and practice, and conceive a systematic understanding of the industry through practical sessions, tech-enabled learning, and workplace learning. As COVID accelerated the speed for training to move to a more hybrid way, we hope that this example can shed some light on how pedagogical innovations can be carried out to provide our learners with a more seamless learning experiences. And I know that Patrick, in his presentation later, will share more examples of how technology can support adult learning and training in innovative ways. This is my last slide. To summarize, we think that innovation, we know that innovation is associated with business performance, and it helps organization to improve the profitability, customer market share, customer satisfaction. And also in innovate, successful innovators, they apply lean processes and to assign tasks to dedicated teams. Also, I think a very important learning point is that we may think of making learning or making innovative learning culture a priority within the organization. So the staff, the management, they are all committed towards the same effort to make things, to improve things, to do things in new ways that can add value to the organization as well as to the community. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Chen Chan, for that insightful sharing. Definitely, we know, to get ahead of competition, change must happen. And more importantly, and from her sharing, we realize, yes, businesses or even individuals must desire the change, or else, you won't even start that innovative process. And, the other thing was interesting, what I picked up was, you need, whenever innovation happens, it is that desirability for efficiency, putting processes into place and then, being able to cope and having iterations. So yes, we must be willing to make that changes for improvement. So as adult educators, let's think about, these few key thoughts, the 3 key points that she have shared, and how can we make learning that experience a good experience for our learners. How can we make things better, more efficiency? I think that's a lot to take out from today's session, and also for all of us to think about, as adult educators, what would be some of the innovative pedagogical strategies that we can adopt. And then I think she have shared with us in the case study, how that blended learning experience can give our learners the opportunity to learn better. So thank you very much, Dr. Chen. We have a question in the Q&A. We will look at that at the end of the session. All right. And thank you very much. Okay, so next on our list, we have Patrick. Patrick has something very interesting to share, technology. So over to you, Patrick, and let's see how you can use technology to help us make things happen. All right, over to you, Patrick.
Thank you, Eunice, and thank you, Dr. Chen. I'm going to share my screen right now, so you should be seeing my slides coming up. I think, we have a look at, from a pedagogical view, what are the best ways to, have innovation in the education industry. So I'm going to now link that to the implementation on how you get all this implemented in the real world. So my name is Patrick. I come from Huawei Enterprise Business Group, working as the global government industry expert in charge of the education sector. So today I'm just going to be very quickly talking to you about, the three areas that you have seen here, the trend and challenges in the industry. And then we talk a little bit about solutioning, and we'll show you some cases that we have worked through in our experience. All right. So first and foremost, we have done and conducted some industry studies, basically together with research houses. All right. So this is with Gartner, and we look at the top 10 education, business, and technology trend. So what we can basically conclude from there is the use of information and communication technology to solve pressing problem. So some of the technologies that we can name, you can see on the screen as well, basically big data, cloud, right? And then other things could be sensors like Internet of Things. All right. So all this is in line with basically what the industry believe in the BDII framework. All right. So that itself generally point us to a way to move the whole industry towards a better place for us. And we have devised, right, an ICT architecture, all right, that will be able to make use of things like device as well as the network connectivity and applications in the cloud to basically focus on providing innovation, quick innovation and quick adoption of solution in the industry to benefit everybody at large. So let me just very quickly dive into why we are talking about some of these things. Number one is that the digital economy development, right? We are basically in the scenario that we are seeing a lot of changes. And basically one of the key challenges that everybody, including the government, is tackling is regarding talent, people who can basically make use of all this technology like big data, artificial intelligence to basically help the industry. So the study itself showed tremendous growth. So I think this is definitely a place where technology will be able to help, all right, especially when we talk about, helping people. But, with all this thought in place, we still have a big problem. So in today, with the COVID-19, pandemic, right, it has prompted a lot of government to basically make overnight switch into, online move. So including education, we are actually going into, a lot of online learning using solutions such as Zoom, Microsoft Teams, and these are basically not tools that are designed, all right, to actually provide the education. So therefore, we are just adapting, towards what we have in place to, make things work. And that definitely, create other problems like, the engagement is not full. All right. So we do have a problem, getting engagement. We do have issue with student participation, especially in a situation where students could have, be living in a place with no internet or network connectivity. So all these are problems that arise because of this sudden change. So what we can do here, like we have been talking about, is basically bring in solution really quickly. All right. So how do we do that? There are some key areas that we think technology from the industry will help. So now I'm just going to basically bring in some of these implementations to help. Right. So before I dive into some of the solution, the overall education solution that is provided here will include things like infrastructure build up, right? So that it will cover many areas, including how do you make school fully connected and able to deliver, right, online presence. How do you then connect different schools together with ubiquitous connectivity? And today cloud is a big trend. How to use cloud, right, as an enablement tool to reach more of your offline or your students that are logging in online, right? When I say offline, means that they are not in the school. We still need to kind of like reach them. And finally, at the top layer here, we are talking about different applications, right, to tackle, right, pain points and allow us to basically move forward. So with that itself, we look at this whole stack itself. If we basically look at the most crucial component here will be the cloud platform. So in the cloud platform itself, in order to help education, vendors like Huawei has developed different solutions. So if you look at the Huawei Cloud itself, we do have basically different areas of verticals where we can help to improve. For example, if you are looking at doing a learning management so that you can manage the courseware, the students access the resources the students need, then we can very quickly bring on a learning management system online. If you're looking at hands-on, practical lessons so that you can have basically tech-enabled learning and simulation, then we are talking about hands-on lab practical training solution. So we do have many partners in the industry delivering very good solution. So the Huawei Cloud here is a platform where we consolidate all these different innovations, all right, onto one single platform, and that is basically very accessible. Anybody can very quickly create an account in the cloud environment and then provision some of this service within minutes. All right. So when we talk about cloud itself, basically this is a physical infrastructure that is built that was spent, all right, large area. So in the aspect of the Huawei Cloud, right, we have coverage for over 24 countries, and within that itself, 4 of them are residing in Singapore, right, in a different parts, like one in the east, one in the west, one in the north, one in the south, right, and that will together collectively provision and provide the service for the the different industry, including education, right? And within the cloud itself, they provide a portfolio of services. So I have shown a diagram here showing more than 200 services, but the most important thing here is that we are able to put these services that is available together with the classroom systems, right? So for example, if you have a smart board, you will be able to pair that with the cloud services and deliver those learning experience to a students who is sitting at home in a remote location, right? So the point solution here, we actually have already templated and deliver them to a couple of customers in different part of the world, and this kind of solution can be quickly adopted and basically provide quick solution. So in one of the main challenges that we have seen here is that in the education itself, when COVID hit, all right, most of the students are still able to do online learning, right? So that itself is not the top of the challenge that we are facing, but most of these schools, even though they can do online learning, they are not able to administer an examination, all right? So this is one of the pain point that that comes up really often. So I think we have basically sourced and find a partner here who can provide smart examination online, doing online tutoring, right? And this tutoring itself basically allow us also to basically use artificial intelligence. So this is AI tutoring solution that I'm just going to show you that it can be quickly put together and adopted, right? Another one would be the part about the experimentals of learning. So the experimental learning itself includes practical skills. Somebody has to basically learn how to configure, right, maybe a device like a network switch. So we have solutions also on the cloud that can provide students with a environment that they can practice, right? Configuring devices so that they are able to basically learn the skills quickly and apply them. All right. So these are all different things that we put onto the cloud platform to allow our learning experience to be enhanced. All right. So just to very quickly go into some use cases at the video. All right. I'll just want to talk about two things. Number one is that for the smart exam solution, we have implemented into one of our customer in Philippines, right? Jose Maria. So they already have their own, learning system, all right, but they couldn't conduct examination. The tutoring was having a problem, all right. So very quickly we engage them. We allow them to come to our platform, and then we provide this AI tutoring from our partner, and that provides them the ability, all right, to straight away conduct examination online. That is basically, coupled with anti-cheating mechanism. So very quickly, I have a video to show you on what we do here. So let me just play the video right now.
The AI proctoring system that ULearning has through its exam module. So to show you an example of the result, we first go through the exam, and I will search for an exam called the posture. And to see this, the teacher has to view the results of the exam, and there will be a tab here called exam proctoring. This is where the system will automatically record suspicious behavior of students on the right side over here, as you can see. And to view a particular student's suspicious behavior, we can first see that the system has recorded demo student 79 to have suspicious actions. So the teacher can search for demo student 79, click here, and press camera monitoring. So throughout the entire exam session, the student, if the AI proctoring system is enabled, the student is required to have his webcam open throughout his entire exam session, where the camera will be for random intervals proctoring this student, and also if detects him having any suspicious activities or any suspicious movements, we'll take a picture and also record what action was it that the system was deeming to be suspicious. As you can see over here that he was caught leaving his seat, deviating his eye focus if he has a notepad or actually a browser on another side of his screen, so he can look at the answers maybe, and also talking with others if there are other detected person that appears within the webcam. So this is where the AI system is able to detect the suspicious activities of the student. And of course, the system will only detect and record down the timestamps of the suspicious activities, but it is up to the teacher to determine whether the student is deemed to be suspicious and if any action or any deduction of marks should be taken against this student.
Yep. So with that, I think we have a very quick peep into a working solutions that are accessible online that can very quickly allow a education institution to adopt this capability and continue doing what they are basically are important to them to allow students to learn and to allow students to basically participate. Right. Another case that I would like to also talk about here would be in South Africa, where we talk to their Ministry of Education equivalent. All right. We call it the Smart K-12 Education Solution. So in that itself, we provided a lot of these digital boards, right, the e-smart boards, right, into the classroom, so that these points boards itself become a internet-enabled endpoint, and they will be able to conduct a lot of lessons in a classroom, record that, all right, instantaneously, and stream them to students who are unable to attend the physical classroom session, right? So all this basically are solutions that came off very quickly when the pandemic hit, and we are able to bring to the industry to help them innovate and adopt new capabilities. All right. So with that itself, I kind of come to the end of my presentation. I hope this is beneficial to everyone. So with that, I will probably pass it back to the facilitator.
All right. right, thank you, Mr. Patrick Low. So yes, tech innovation gives us results. Smart classroom, networking, cloud. So these are the few key solutions that can be used, okay, for us to then practice innovation in our class. Yeah, I mean, I was looking at the whole thing about proctoring and how examinations are proctored. They can literally track everything you do. Isn't that scary? Okay, I personally did one proctoring myself, okay, when I proctored the learners doing their assessment, and I thought it was a bit intrusive. Yeah, but that's how innovation happens. So yes, have an open mind, because that will help us look at how we can do things better, okay, especially when the pandemic has already changed a lot of ways we conduct our learning. And the whole space of half of the learners in class and half of the learners online, okay, this is a big question that I think all of us as adult educators are scratching our head. Personally, for me, I've tried to do that. I tried once, okay, to half of my learners online and half in class. It was just so mentally exhausting, okay, to be focusing on so many things at one time. But yeah, we can definitely, as long as we can find a better way to do things, why not, right? So let's iterate and make things happen. Okay, so next on in our list, we have Linda. Okay, and I think Dr. Linda has a lot of experience working with organization and impacting organization with innovative ideas for change. So let's hear from Linda, from the organization perspective, how companies are embracing innovation in learning. Over to you, Linda.
Thank you so much, Eunice. Just want to check whether everyone can hear me okay. Can you give me a thumbs up? Okay, thank you. Let me do a share screen. Okay, are you able to see the screen? All right. Okay, first of all, thank you for having me. And the reason I'm here talking is not that I really know a lot. Like the name suggests, innovation. Innovation is is a journey. There's no destination. Until you jump on it, you keep trying it and discovering better ways to do it. So I'm here to share with you whatever little that I know about empowering innovation. And I am really very indebted to IAL for the many initiatives, whether is it workplace learning, whether is it innovating in a project. So with that, I was able to pick up my innovation learning along the way. So today I'm here to share just that. Okay. So let me just close this so they can have a full screen. Okay, so I wanted to start by saying that innovation fuels enterprise growth. And Dr. Chen says something like, how does innovation affect business performance? From the business side of things, if you offer something innovative, straight away you get attention. You have that shouting power. People need to talk about you. So why did TikTok be so successful today? Because they offer something new and people talk about them. And when there's a shouting power, when they talk about you, the next thing is you have sticking power. So I want to tell you a story about TikTok. This is an international bubble tea company. And because it's an international bubble tea company of which Singapore is a franchisee, so Singapore customer come and say, can I customize the bubble tea? Can I don't have this? Can I don't have that? And being a franchisee, you have to stay very closely to the rules. So the answer is no. So customers go on social media and say, hey, you're not very customer centric. It doesn't allow me to have tea my way. Why is it 30%? Why is it 50%? Why can't I have it 45%? So the local company then appeal and talk to the principal, and finally they got the green light to customize, always give customer what they want. So they had this innovation. They said that, we should go right up. It's called ground up innovation. Let's tell the principal that in Singapore, our customer love to have their tea certain way. And so the principal said yes, and they come back and they say, now, how do we tell our customers that today you can have your bubble tea your way? And they turned to TikTok. So they didn't take out a Straits Time print ad. They turned to TikTok. And the TikTok the customer walk out and the customer say, hi, I want to order my bubble tea. Sure. No sugar, please. Sure. No milk, please. Oh, sure. And no bubble, please. And finally, no tea. So then what is that? That's water, right? So they put it on this TikTok. It went viral, okay? And people like this TikTok reel because they get emotional over it. They think it's very clever. So to answer the question, innovation really help you capture attention in a world that's really cluttered. But the interesting thing is, who then fuel innovation? Where does it come from? I mean, we have it like product innovation, process innovation, but kid you not, it comes from people. I used to work in CapitaLand. You know, it's the people who decide which land we should go for. And when we secured the land tender, it's the people who decide what we should build. So we built Raffles City. After building Raffles City, it's the same people who then decide that, hey, you know, we're not getting the rental yield we should get. So let's enhance the assets. So it's the people that who then go back and say, you know what, we provided too many car park spaces. So let's rethink and let's release basement 1 for more shops. So innovation fuel enterprise growth. But what fuel innovation is people. And that if we want our company to be, if we want a company to have more innovation output, focus on the people. Okay. Okay, I don't know what's wrong with the slide. Okay, there we go. Are you doing something, Audrey? So am I having control over my slide? I need to control my slide, please. Sorry about the breakdown. Okay, so what I wanted to stress is that it's the people that fuel innovation. And if you believe that people fuel innovation, then every individual in your company matter, every employee matter. If you make them innovative, then you will get the aggregate or the collective output of innovation. So if everybody matters, right? So what if you have a situation where everybody thinks like that? You know, like if you do what you always done, you will get what you have always gotten. And that's by Anthony Robbins. I think 20 years ago, that's fine. But in today's world, right, your competitors are watching what you do and they are very agile and they are responding. And if you look at the movement of these clouds, right, if you do what you have always done, you will not get what you always gotten because people moved on. They got better options. So innovation is not an option. You'll die if you don't have innovation. And then when we talk about innovation, what does innovation mean? So if you look at our education system, we are very good in the analytical part. And that I wanted to quote Samuel Johnson, that many people have the ability to review something and tell you how to make it better. But then the downside is we stare at the trees and we forget the forest. And that few are able to even identify what is missing. What if we just lift our head up high and fly 5,000 feet and see bigger things instead of working it at the ground 2,000 feet level? So when we say innovation, what level are you working at? Okay, sorry, there is some, oh, why is my, stop share. I'm sorry, I don't know why the slide is not moving. Let me try again. Okay. Okay, so this is the one that I'm sharing with you, but from my side, the clouds are moving, but I can see from your side, it is not moving. Okay. Yeah, it's not moving. Okay. Okay. I'm getting Audrey to control the slides, so we can still proceed. Okay, so can we bring on to the next slide, please? Okay, so this is what I was talking about. So when you say innovation, what level of innovation? There are many different levels of innovation. So let's go on to the next slide. So you see that you can innovate in the known area, or you can go into the unknown area. So let's talk about all these 4 different areas. And the one that unleashed the greatest potential, right, could be under the unknown. So let's talk about the known is something that you know and I know. Is there a better way to do it? Okay, we can go into process innovation. Let's go into unknown. Okay, so Audrey, you need to click unknown. So example, oops, it doesn't work. Okay, never mind. And go back to the previous slide. Unknown, okay, I know I'm going to die. The knowledge of the impact, I know I'm going to die. But when am I going to die? I don't know. So it's something that others know, but I don't know. So I go for a medical checkup. I hear it from the doctor that I know what to do. On the other hand, you have this thing called the known unknown. Okay, we know that electric vehicles are coming. What's the impact of sustainability on the petrol kiosk real estate? We don't know. So we conduct research. We find out more information. And then finally, there's this area that gives you the greatest potential. It's called the unknown, where you go out there and you try to figure it out. And I think Elon Musk is working in this area. Okay, he rethink education, he rethink electric vehicle and sustainability business. Okay, so let's move on. So the gap between problem solvers and problem seekers are different. So there are innovation under problem solver. There's a problem. Do you have a better way to do it? That's fine. But what if you could even frame the problem? They don't see it, but you saw it. And because you saw that as a problem, then you ask a different question, then therefore you have different answer. So problem seekers has way more value to extract than problem solver. And the gap between problem seekers and problem solvers are large. Okay, so these are the players that has gone to problem seekers. They frame the problem, then they solve the problem, and the whole world bought into their solutions. Okay, blue ocean, no competition. Next slide, please. So if you explain this to your staff and you say, hey guys, I want you to innovate, then the common thing would be, hey boss, I am not creative, so I can't innovate. So I want to debunk innovation myth 1, that innovation is about creativity, and some are born more creative than others. Well, I want to tell you, creation starts from critical thinking, not creativity. Okay, so let's talk about connecting the dots. Next slide. So with that, before I share, I like to hear what you have to say. I mean, you've been listening to us for an hour now. So can you take out your phone and then scan the QR code? And let's see what everybody in the room feels about innovation right now. Here are the results, Audrey. Okay, so the first question I ask is, what are the core competencies that I need in order to be an effective innovator? Okay, so we have people, we have 7 responses: thinking out of the box, critical thinking, thank you. We have communication, problem solving, willingness to learn, open-minded. Okay, you can go into mentimeter.com and the code is right on top and join us. Okay, I'll wait for about 20 responses, then I'll move on. Okay, we have creative, we have critical thinking, we have communication. These are the core competencies. from the audience? Thank you. Any more to come? Okay, we're going to stop here and then we'll go to second question. So the core competencies from all of you today, this afternoon, is that for innovation, we need critical thinking, creative thinking, and communication. Okay, these are the resounding core competency. Thank you so much. Okay, shall we move to the next question, please? So when innovating, what's the most important task? The most important task. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, let's go to the last question. So at question 2, most of you say that connecting the dots, making sense is the most important competency. Final question is, how do you set key performance indicator to measure your innovation? This is especially interesting to some of you who intend to take part in InnoPlus. Okay, I mean later under Q&A we can talk more about it. It's a very interesting initiative by IAL where you get to stand to win $200,000 to try out your ideas. Yeah, and of course, if you are going to take money and time, you need to think about what success look like. So in an innovation context, right? How do you set your key performance indicator? What does success look like? What must happen for you to say, my innovation is successful? Thank you so much. I'm going to let the survey continue because in view of time, please do know that we will keep this open, and then at the end of today's session, we'll post it up so you can look at it. I wanted to collect this because I want to kind of put it next to what I'm talking about, so we have some reference with this and some ideas that I want to share with you based on my personal journey. So thank you, everyone. Let's go back to the slide deck. Audrey, you leave the Mentimeter on. Let's go back to the slide deck and let's go back to the slide on mindset. Okay, so on the play. So what I've learned about innovation and enterprise is that there are many ways to innovate. And if you are with IAL, we actually believe that innovation comes from people. So to summarize, what I say is a do or die. Enterprises by its name needs to innovate. And innovation, there are many spaces, go for the unknown. And that innovation comes from people. But most of the time we will say things like, but I'm not creative, so I can't innovate. But first thing first is you need to be critical thinkers. You need to connect the dots. You need to make sense. You need to know who you're innovating for, because we don't have enough money to innovate for everybody. So what matters to you? What are your key priorities? Surely this you can do. So step 1, debunking the myth of innovators is that everyone's a critical thinkers. And that's easy to do, and it's kind of safe to do. And then once they kind of like connect the dots, the level of confidence goes up. Once they connect the dots and everybody see the same dots, they then go, if this is the situation, what if we do that? So creativity comes in naturally, but that's the second phase. So I think what is critical for company, right, is to mood this thing called a growth mindset, that it is okay to say, I don't know yet, the power of yet. And the innovative company, their culture, right? What's the barriers to innovation? Again, Dr. Chen talked about this. I think because I'm pushing for people innovation through people, I think the culture is so important and the language that you use is so important. We also saw the stats that there are many failures. See, innovation is if there's no element of failure, you can't really call it innovation, isn't it? That means it's still quite safe. But if you fail and you know why you fail, you discover what didn't work, and then you can turn around it. So the whole thing is not be afraid to fail, but you can fail forward, you can fail early. But what if you succeed? And even though you have 5 failures, but all you need is 1 winner, it wipes out everything. So the way of thinking, the culture and the language towards innovation is different. It's not a 1-for-1. Okay, you may fail 5 times and that mega win. Okay, so the whole mindset towards innovation, that I can do this, I embrace challenge, you know, I can train my brain to think like that, and I get inspired by how people do things. I'm always curious, asking questions, learning from feedback. So first, you have to have that growth mindset. Do not be afraid to fail. And I'm going to draw on 2 InnoPlus experience that my team have. I want to give credit to my team. I didn't do this alone. It's with them, and Audrey is one of them. Next slide, please, Audrey. I want to tell you the recent one we just completed is called I Can. Yeah, this is regarding the hospital, and it's quite timely, right, with the COVID coming along. And then I also will tell you about, before this, we won SIT, is learning solution. So I'm going to share these 2 case studies. I love to share more, but just the 15 minutes time. Okay, so what we learned about driving innovation in enterprises is to have a common language. And in these 2 enterprises that we've been through, these are the common language. We call it innovation spaces. We don't call it process. We don't call it steps, because you can actually be in a continuous improvement side. And then suddenly you had an idea, so you can jump into the co-creation spaces. They are spaces. Okay, so when we started this InnoPlus, we connect the dots to see how we can create value for people. We were not busy with learn tech solution. We were very busy with who we want to innovate and what are their pain points. So the first thing we do is we connect the dots. First slide, please. So when you want to connect the dots, we are very curious. So you ask question. It is all right to say, I don't know. And the reason is because we are really limited in our ability to predict. Be alert observers, right? Try to identify things and spot the emerging trends before others see it. And you also need to free time to do that. So it's about being mindful. It's not just responding to emails all the time, but taking time out to look at what's happening at other industry, to just discover and be inspired, then bring it back. And to question our assumptions, that the assumptions we have, right, may not work today, because competitors respond, people react. And so therefore what we think we know may not hold water. So we need to know when to change. And most of all, change requires a lot of resources. So it's better to work on something with far-reaching consequences that can impact the direction of the company. So let me give you some examples of critical thinking. So for the hospital project, right, we noted that the doctors and the nurses will go and see the patient, and then they will talk, and all this kind of perish because it's not locked into something that they can refer to. They will then teach patient education like this, but it's not being captured. And we focus on caregiving for post-operative patient. That means they just had surgery done. Why they can't go home is because they need the caregiving part. We also noted that whether it's a patient themselves or the people around them, they are all already using online resources. They all have mobile and they are all looking at all this. So it's something that they already know how to do. Next slide. Then we saw the nurses teaching them, like, this is what you should do if you go back and you need to change your stoma bag. These are the steps and processes. But then an idea come out, which is hospital care is not the same as home care, because at home there's no doctors. At home we don't have the kind of facilities like the kind of bed or wedges, and even the equipment we have at home is a make do, and we don't even have the medical supply. So suddenly we realized that what comes out of from the hospital, the care, may not work at home. Okay, so these are the critical thinking. And then we also saw that nurses wear badges. Okay, next slide. And her name is she's not a nurse, but she has this title called patient navigator. So what is that? Then we asked her, and she said, I actually visit the patient's home and teach them how to do caregiving. So with that, we confirm our learning, the critical thinking. Next slide. So it goes like this. Patient had an operation, patient wants to go home, but patient cannot go home until they know how to take care of themselves. So let's go to point 2. Point 2 is you're supposed to discharge, go home, and continue taking care of yourself at home. And between part 1 and part 2, the hospital will give a lot of training, face-to-face, fixed time, so that you know how to do it. But there were a lot of challenges, like the foreign workers, the domestic helpers couldn't understand, or they are so emotional because there are just so many things to remember, so stressful. So the challenges arise at home when whether they are able to bring this home care home. If they're able to do the caregiving at home in a good way, you see the green line, everything's okay and the patient recover, no need to come back to the hospital again. However, if the home caregiver cannot do the job, and because they are not confident, the first thing they do is bring them back to the hospital. And the hospital cannot see new cases because all these repeat cases keep coming back. So connecting the dots, sense making, knowing the stakeholders, we then go, this is a question we want to solve. Okay, how might hospital empower carers to deliver quality care at home? Okay, and who are these people? They are post-operative patients, so that they don't have to come back to the hospital again, so that they can get well and they don't have to come back to the hospital again. And how can we do this in a learning solution, just in time, just for me? Okay, so critical thinking first starts this challenge statement. Second case study is about Singapore Institute of Technology and their poly students. I'm going to go faster because of time. So all this you know, right? There's technological changes. Next slide. And because of that, job has been affected. You see a lot of job redesign. And then let's go. And regardless of us using more machines, and now they're not called robots, they are called cobots. They are our colleagues. These soft skills are all very important. Then we look at the macro view, connecting the dots. The papers are all telling us soft skills are very, very important. We look down to the students, to the undergraduates. The reality check with them is, hey, you know, soft skills is very important. And their comment is, no, technical skills is more important. I got a lot on my plate, and this thing doesn't affect my GPA, right? So I'm just going to worry about soft skill later on. But when we talk to the employers, all of them says that technical skills and soft skills are equally important. So then the problem statement, the critical thinking bring us to these problem statements. How do we develop already graduates? Not only good in technical skills, but also soft skill. How else can we do? How else can we equip them with a learning solution that they can do just in time, just for me? So next slide. So what we learn about innovation is not about being creative first, but the ability to connect the dots, the ability to sniff out, look out at the pain point and know who you are creating value for. Okay, so once you've got that, then you can go and ideate how to create value. Next slide, please. And that what I learned from this is your ability to observe, the ability to ask better questions is really indispensable for the right use of your brain when it comes to creation. If you don't observe well, right, your data are not there. It comes to creating is really hit and miss. Okay, let's go to the next C. Okay, co-creation. Okay, so you say, okay, let's co-create, and every design thinker tell you, oh yeah, co-create, think about the user. I also learned that, no, I don't really focus on the user, because you can focus on the user, but the stakeholders will kill the ideas. Well, the stakeholders themselves are also internal customers. They are also the user. So in the case of the hospital, right? So we draw this influence and interest. The one with very high interest in what we do, they are the surgeons and the doctors. They said that if you can bring them home, the patient home, and if the patient don't come back, that will be wonderful. And if your learning solution can cut down the number of phone calls and inquiries at the hospital, it'd be great, because then we can go and take care of other patients. So under high interest and high influence, because they have the authority, are the surgeons and the doctors. So we kept them, we work with them, we make sure we get their buy-in. Now, the other people who are very interested, but they don't have their influence, sphere of influence is not as high as the doctors. These are the nurses, the caregivers, the patient navigators. Along the way, there are PDPA issues, there are IT things that we had to clear. Okay, so these people are not so interested in the potential of our learning solution to stop post-operative patient to come back. But their influence is very high, because they are the one who say yes or no to our technology solution. You also have to keep them in the loop. So when you are co-creating, right, you have to bear in mind all these people, because if you don't, by the time you finish your solution, they're not going to adopt your solution. Okay, let me show you what are some of the people involved. Audrey, next slide. This is the head of surgery at Khoo Teck Puat Hospital. So, but I want to point you along the line of the participant. Can you see? Let me point you some names. Yeah, there is the second last name, Wei Kin. He's NHG. He's from the National Healthcare Group, Health App. Okay, he's not even from the hospital. Let me see who else I can point you. There are so the names in there, there are legal people inside there, there are IT people inside there, there are even IT that's not in the hospital but belong to the community. So these are all your stakeholders. Next slide, please, Audrey. At the SIT, the guy who's standing up there, he's the deputy provost, and these are all the heads of the faculty and the career. So there is a lot of people that can make or break your ideas. So while students are the one that consume the product, at your co-creation part, please think of them. Okay, let's go. Let's move on. Okay. So once you have taken care of that, let's go to myth number 3. Some of you call this prototyping, is called clarification. So far up to here, you have an idea. So you think to build an idea, but does it work? You need clarification. You need to hit the ground running. So then you want to hit the ground. And then when you hit the ground, it's about seeing whether it works. So prototyping is, at first, is you think to build it. Prototyping is as you build it, is build to think. So at this stage, just now we asked you the question, metrics are so important. Key performance metrics are meant for non-risky situation where you can cast in stone and be very clear what you want to measure. Okay, so with all good intention, you can say that measure my innovation by this. But let me tell you, because it's innovation, once you hit the ground running, how do I know there's a COVID? How do I know that the nurses cannot come? How do I know that this community hospital has to report to another clusters? So guys, you're going to find out a lot of things along the way. So what we learn is that when you are setting your matrix, please don't just set one set, set 2 sets. Think of the worst thing that can happen to you and also be prepared. So item 4, right? Think about what are the risks. If you set a KPI, what are some of the things that this KPI can or cannot work? And think of the risk and try to mitigate the risk. But best of all, have 2 sets of matrix, because you are in the innovation space. And that even if you cannot hit the quantitative evidence, that qualitative evidence of why you fail, as a result of why you fail, so this is your alternative evidence, argue that I bring you something back. Okay, so I think give yourself 2 sets of matrix and give yourself some allowance in the event that you can't measure, because you are really in the space that anything can happen to you. Okay, so next slide, please. So before we go out there and get people to respond to the idea, you have to build a prototype they can touch and feel and play with it, right? So the I can actually stands for digital. I stands for Digital Caregiver Assistant Network. So if you have to take care of your patient, you don't know what to do, you go into the curated medical knowledge. So this is all about the learning modules. If this patient gets out because it's a breast care, we will assign only breast care. So you only get what you needed. Now, as you're reading, you're not so sure, you need to talk to somebody. Well, there is a community, you can do a chat, you can do teleconferencing, there's Zoom features in it. Then after that, next one, oh, you know, I need to go out and buy some more supplies. I do not know where to go to rent certain things. So the hospital will give you a tried and tested list. Now, we are by no means the yellow pages. This is to just help you jumpstart, because when you reach home, stress level is very high. So they help to match the services you're looking for. And finally, as the person gets into caregiving and learn all these things, there is a professionalization pathway they can consider taking. Okay, next slide, just very quickly. This is what it looks like. Okay, so we have the catheter, and then this catheter stoma, and the last screenshot is the one on service matching, where you want to go to buy what things. Okay, next one. Next one is, we're talking about SIT. The students say, I don't have time for this. And some students say, well, interview, I have prior knowledge. So what do we do? Audrey, jump to 2 slides down. Slides 40, please. One more. Okay, so this one, we question why learning has to be linear. So if you think you know a lot, right, go for fast pass, go and do a self-assessment. If we recognize your prior knowledge, you're so good, then you don't have to do. For the rest, right, once you do your self-pass, it will actually give you a personalized learning plan to tell you what are the knowledge that you need to top up, and then you do the assignment, and then you get the certificate. Okay, so it's non-linear learning, no more linear. Okay, let's go forward. I don't think I'll show the video because of time. Let's go back to the slide 43. Finally, continuous improvement. Okay, so in innovation, it just doesn't stop. Every day is day one. You just have to be very curious. Go to slide 44, Audrey. Next one. It's always iterate, always finding a better way, and always asking yourself whether it differentiates you from the other solution providers. And at all times, at every opportunity, if you can, try to digitize it, because it unlocks the productivity. So finally, my last takeaway. I want to conclude today's session by telling you that enterprises needs innovation to be enterprising, and that innovation doesn't come from just machines. It's not about data analytics. It's not about artificial intelligence, but it's really understand the business model, okay, and getting this to help you. And innovation actually comes from people. It's the people that drives innovation, not just technology. If you have a very good clue where you're heading, then you go and figure out which technology can help you get there. Then you go to the InnoPlus and say, I've got this idea. I think this technology can help me. Can you fund me? Okay. And when you're on this job, do not be afraid to fail. Failure is not a bad thing, but unfortunately, our corporate don't have such language, right? If I look at the corporate language, right, is innovation a workplace priority? Is it a business priority? I don't know. The culture, when you say innovation, is it top down or is it bottom up? Language, performance appraisal, do you record down the number of times I fail? Is failure seen as a bad thing? Even balance sheet, how do we categorize failure? Is failure categorized under expenses? So we have to rethink all these way of looking at failures. So, but if you are moving on this line, do not be afraid to fail, because you just discover what didn't work. So remember, if you pay the money already, learn from it and improve. So fail fast, fail forward. When you want to do innovation, critical thinking first, then creative thinking, okay? And after you do creative thinking, don't just run off. Check prototyping is important. You prototype, you iterate, you keep looking out for what you missed, because the prototyping users will let you know. And finally, it's about managing stakeholders. So with that, thank you so much. I'll hand over the time back to Eunice. I'm so sorry for the technical challenges, but really, this is a way of life. This is another thing. Do not be so afraid when things doesn't work. At NTU, right, when I do blended learning, right, sometimes this doesn't work, sometimes that doesn't work, and you just think on your feet. So, well, you see, we managed to get what we wanted to do. Thank you so much, everybody. Back to you, Eunice.
All right, thank you, Dr. Linda, for that insightful sharing. You know, definitely, you know, I mean, if she had more time, we definitely can learn more nuggets of gems from her experience with working with organizations and helping organizations innovate, the 4 C's that she have talked about. Yeah, I think innovation, it starts in every one of us. I believe, every day of our life, if you look around, there will be certain thing that gives you some pain point, and how can we add value to it? And I really like what she mentioned, is about the people. And in education, okay, as adult educators, we are in the people business, right? As much as we want our learners to learn. Yeah, if we are able to, understand how our learners learn, identify their pain points, okay, yes, the stakeholders are very important. I really, as she highlighted, at the end of the day, we need to know who's paying the money and who is, looking at the KPI. It's called reality. All right. So yeah, the stakeholders coming into the equation, and never be afraid to fail and fail forward. I think that's something that I think as Singaporeans, all of us just, typical Singaporean, being that, safe comfort zone, we do not want to step out. But if we don't step out, how then can we innovate? I think today we have heard very interesting sharing and experience from research, even from the use of technology, on how we can innovate. And I see there are not many questions in the Q&A. Any one of you have questions, please, it's a time for you to ask, because we have people in the room that I think with their experience, they can just, give you some ideas on how you can personally innovate. But let's look at, I think, yes, thanks, Dr. Chen Chan. She has answered the question by Jeffrey, who asked, what are the funding available for technology adoption for workplace? So yes, IAL do have some of the challenges like InnoPlus, InnoDev, that I think Dr. Linda has participated in it, 200,000, right? Yeah, and yeah, if you have any innovative ideas, you can check out the website that she has shared for testing, putting your ideas there and pitching for it. All right, personally for me, I've also done, there's one more that's smaller than the InnoPlus. I can't remember what is it called. Any one of you, the panelists, or have any idea? The $5,000, there's one $5,000 Inno something by IAL. The smaller version of the InnoJam. Yes, someone put it. Thanks, Li Peng. Yes, she was my partner in our InnoJam initiative, and that was when the group of AEs, a few of us, we had this challenge. How might we, when COVID happened, all of us were scrambling, and that was our InnoJam submission, and yeah, it did fund us a bit in our journey, okay, in the adoption of technology. So for those of you who are interested, you can tap on some of these programs.
Let me just share. Linda. I want to share an observation, Eunice. InnoPlus is a very interesting platform, because where else do you get as real to giving legs to your ideas, because you started with this connecting the dots and ideas, and along the journey you learn a lot, because IAL actually give you training programs, they help you sharpen your idea, then you hit the road running, right? What I wanted to share with all of you is this, what I've observed after taking InnoPlus. I want to tell every one of you out there, the minute you decide to take InnoPlus, you are already a winner. Okay, why I said that? Because I find that it's a journey you take. There are many stages you clear. You have to have your problem statement, you have to choose your service provider, you have to pitch and all that. And when the team is not selected, I saw the disappointment in their face. In every competition, right, they have limited projects that got through. But it was interesting. I turned around and looked at the teams that did not, because that's the culture, I think, first of all, give yourself a pat for taking up the challenge. I think everyone is a winner because you did learn something. Maybe you couldn't monetize it this round, come back stronger. And I also learned that when I attend, right, I see how other people do it, how they do it better. You are a better version. So do not let that fear, the fact you take part, winner. So do consider InnoPlus.
All right, thank you for that shout out for InnoPlus. Yes, it is taking that first step. And once you have taken that first step, you're on your way there to be that innovator, right? Yeah. And I think as educators, we should be always having that innovation, that critical thinking in us, keep asking ourselves questions. Okay, how might we do something better? All right, how might we do something better? All right, and yeah, so that's the question on funding. I hope we answered some of your questions, Jeffrey. Personally, for me, I know that, under Enterprise Singapore, there is also some funding under the EDG fund, but I know that one is not that easy to get. So yeah, and then there is the Learning Enterprise Alliance project by IAL that also funds workplace learning. So you may want to explore that as well. All right, and the second question, which was asked by CH Tan, I thought that was very interesting. He talked about the changing landscape in technology, and yes, it's tiring to keep up with EdTech. Tell me about it. Okay, yes, and yeah, the whole space of metaverse. And thanks, Patrick, for sharing. I think he shared some of his thoughts on metaverse. But right now, we want to tap on probably either Dr. Chen Chan or Dr. Linda Wee. Your thoughts on metaverse?
Metaverse, I don't know yet, but I will find out.
Okay.
Yeah, so my PhD is in retail. It's going to be a very big thing. So Singapore Retailers Association are gathering all the experts, and you know what? I'm going to change my assumption. It's day one. I'm going to go in there. I'm going to listen. I just need to be in a space where people start talking, I start thinking. So at this moment, I don't know yet, but I'm curious, how does that help retail? Yeah, but you hear a lot of that. Yeah. Dr. Chen, how about you? Are you joining me?
Yeah, that would be really interesting. The virtual shopping, we all want to, as ladies, we want to have new clothes every day, right? Yeah. I haven't seen much practice of that metaverse into the TAE practice for now, but I do see some demo from the IHLs. They try to bring in their learners, their stakeholders, the industry people, the experts in one space and to try interesting things. Of course, we hear from Patrick the potential of it, and then it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, it's just a matter of time. Yeah.
Can I take this opportunity, since there's no question, I wanted to give credit to the participants for faithfully filling up the Mentimeter. I just want to make some sensing with you. Remember, I said one debunk the myth, right? So question one I asked was like, what do you think are the core competency for innovation? And I think most of you actually said creativity. To me, creativity is quite scary. Somehow we kind of think you're creative or you're not creative. And to talk something so abstract is very hard to start. And one of the reasons why innovation didn't kick off is psychologically it's not safe to talk about it. But if you start with critical thinking, if you start with, hey, let's do sense making, let's connect the dots. And that is what I see. So you state your observation, what I see. And based on what I see, this is my opinion, this is what I think. It's easier to hold their hand and come in. So I like to say that it's interesting, you see how most of us think that creativity is one thing for innovation, but I would say critical thinking, connecting the dots is one good way to jumpstart. The second question I asked was, what is the most important skill? Most of you said connecting the dots. I'm so good. To connect the dots, you've got to be where the dots are. That's why I'm going to Metaverse seminar already. I'm going to connect the dots. But, interestingly, when you answer the question, nobody pick up prototyping skills. So do not think you have an idea, you got your ideas correct. And that's the one thing I want to push for in InnoPlus, that when we write the paper, we think that's the right way. But when we hit the ground, it's not the right way. But it's already cast in stone. We wrote our paper that way. Do I have ways to backtrack? To reverse a little bit? So I would tell all of you, please prototype. And when you prototype, you want to hear people commenting on your ideas, because there's surely something I missed. So it's always figuring out what you're missing. And the third one, I ask you, what KPI, right? So you gave me a lot of ideas. So I'm going to make the survey available. Thank you so much. But some of my ideas, I was thinking, can I not tell you my KPI in terms of 5 things I'll do differently. After going through the whole journey, 5 things I'll do differently. And when I set my KPI as this, I now realize I want to set it as that. So it may have a more qualitative component. How do you come back stronger? What must you do to bring your idea to a success? Because it's really hard to measure those things. Are increase sales by 10%, 100% attend this training will like my online learning, because it's not that they don't like, it's that it's strange and new to them. So I just wonder that those KPI that we commonly use are more for a stabilized situation. And I wonder things like, if I write things like what worked well, having gone on this journey, I come back clearly and tell you what worked well. Even better if I do this, and what have I learned that I want to do it differently. And that if I were to come back and resubmit this form, this is how I will write it differently. Would that work? Because we're trying to figure out, how do you measure with certainty? Can you measure with certainty? I don't know, right? So let's start a group and let's keep talking about this, because otherwise you see yourself in a situation you're innovating, but you don't know how to measure the end result. Thank you. Back to you, Eunice.
All right, thank you for rounding off that, that 3 interesting questions that you have asked all of us. Okay, I'm back to that metaverse thing. Okay, applying whatever Dr. Linda has just said. Let's connect the dots. As we embrace, we are talking about innovation here, right? Something new. Okay, when I first heard of this thing called metaverse, it's like, will I see it in today? We watch in movie, right? And we are seeing a lot of things happening in our lifetime. Okay, so will we see it, coming true? Okay, Dr. Chen Zhan talk about barriers of innovation, and I think right now in the whole space of metaverse, I think Patrick can attest to that as well. Yeah, the cost of that whole space. Is there cost savings in that, with that, all that new efficiencies? I think that's a big question that can either inhibit us from innovation or embrace innovation. So let's apply what we have learned, connect the dots, start asking ourselves, critically, how might we, even as educators, embrace new ways of learning? Okay, and more importantly, as we chat with each other, as we form communities. To me, if you talk about innovation, you can't innovate alone. You need people to bounce off ideas. You definitely need people to, share ideas with. So let's have this space, especially with AEN and, such conversation going, we can definitely ask questions. So for the rest of you who are still here with us in the session, I know I can't see all your faces, so I don't know if you're still here with me or not. If you can just type into the chat, what are your thoughts about metaverse? Since that question come, okay, not only for panelists, what are your thoughts? Let's hear from the ground. Okay, if any one of you have any thoughts on metaverse and how, as we all of us as adult educators, can embrace this new innovation in what we do. So I'm just going to give you like probably 30 seconds, no, 1 minute for you to type in your thoughts in the chat. If everyone can just do that, if you're still here with us, because we haven't heard from the ground a lot for a long time, right? And I think all the panelists are willing, are just waiting to hear from what all of you have to say. All right. What are your thoughts on metaverse? As adult educators, how can we embrace that? Oh, that's a very interesting question. Jeffrey, what's the closest skills framework for metaverse? I don't think there's a skills framework, right? Any one of you know?
So I can attempt to do this. I think for metaverse itself, there are 3 key technologies that we are talking about. One is virtual reality, all right, and to do virtual reality, we are talking about networking as the most key, right? So you must be able to deliver fast, download speed. You must be able to basically do very low latency. So that is one aspect. The second aspect here is the interface. So you need the virtual world, all right, that you can share with everybody. So that has to do with basically a diverse platform, all right, that are able to deliver great experience to users. So things like the cloud will be a area for you. The final one, which is very important if you are going to use metaverse to do trading, that will be blockchain, so that whatever you create in that space here is non-fundable, right? They are trustworthy, all right, and basically they are secure. So for that itself, blockchain will be the technology. So you are looking at a multitude of key technologies to make this whole metaverse actually function. But again, the final question here is, what is metaverse going to evolve into? Is it going to be a real marketplace where everybody can exchange, or is it just a gaming platform? I think the verdict is still out, right? Microsoft seems to think that it is just a gaming platform. Facebook changed their name to Metaverse. They think that this is going to be a future trading space. All right, so the verdict is basically still out. Depends on a lot of factors. I tell you, I won't know.
Yeah, I think none of us have the answer, but we may live to see the answer, right?
Yeah. So back to the key answer for the question: blockchain, virtual reality, and then the cloud technology.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. And I think Patrick has just shared. Thank you very much. That three things that will bring metaverse true, or don't know when. All right, thank you. And yes, I think some of you are typing into the chat. Okay, you have something very big, okay, that can continuum in learning. And yes, we will see how it goes. Okay, let's embrace a positive, that growth mindset. If it happens in the next few months, let's try it. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't work for you or me, okay, at least we have tried it. We've been there, done that. Okay, when Pokemon Go just hit the market and everyone was trying, I was one of those first few who did it. Okay, just because I want to know what VR is, and I learned a lot in it. Okay, I played for a while. After that, I gave up. But if any of you embrace it and try it, at least you know what works, what do not work for you as a for your personal development and personal learning. You definitely can pick something out there. All right. Okay. And I think some of you are asking for the slides to be shared. Yes, the slides will be shared at the end of the session in the IAL website, and the recording will also be shared with you. Okay, we have about some time left. So if there's no question, okay, I have a question. Okay, that is a question for Dr. Chen Zhan. You talk about innovation. Do you have any research findings? You talk about adult educators from training providers, adult educators not having that sufficient skill sets. What is there anything that you can share with us on how, as adult educators, all of us, I think a lot of us in the room are adult educators, how can we continue to innovate or do something to improve ourselves?
I'm not saying that actually adult educators do not have the kind of skills. Many of the time is that we may lack of the opportunities to put our innovative DNAs into practice. As Linda shared earlier, that these people are the key element. So we need that kind of environment for us to do things, for us to try and allow us to fail. So I think that environment there, it needs to be there in the first place. And the desire to change, as I mentioned, the competency-wise and the skills-wise, there are quite a few initiatives in IAL. As you know, that we have constant CPD programs coming up to support innovation and to improve the innovation consultancy skills. And also by partnering and working along with experienced experts in this field, like Dr. Linda Wee herself, and she has a team doing quite a lot of projects in this, providing consultancies to support innovation within organizations. So learning by doing is another way. And also, you know that there's this community of learning and sharing, and know that we have AEN, we have the special interest group, we have a lot of good platforms for us to connect together. And I'm actually very inspired to see that there are a lot of voluntary sharing online and at LinkedIn, and we see the eagerness for people to connect, to do things differently together. So it's more of embracing that opportunity to start the journey going.
All right, thank you. Yes, we need
Thank
to
you.
embrace it. Yeah, thank you. All right, and yeah, I think I have a question for Dr. Linda, since you work with organizations and you talk about, some of the challenges. What is the main, we know that organizations need to innovate, but what is the main thing that sometimes hold organizations back from innovation based on the projects that you have done?
If I talk from the C-suite people, some don't really understand what's innovation. They have a very narrow definition of innovation, like what Dr. Chen has presented in her slides. There's process innovation, there's product innovation, there's market innovation. And in fact, I think there's this thing called people innovation. Maybe IL can lead us there, like it's a leading indicator. If I look at people innovation, I measure your IQ, not as intelligent quotient, but your innovation quotient. If your people are high in IQ as in innovation quotient, that's a leading indicator that there will be innovation coming. There are companies, their core value is called innovation, but what I thought was interesting is they call it ceaseless innovation. You can't innovate today, tomorrow don't innovate, but they ceaseless, so I thought that was interesting. So I think some C-suite people are really very busy chasing bottom line. And so all their energy is there. And then as a result, right, innovation is not a business priority. Okay, even if they understand innovation is a business priority, but they never put customer as their top priority. So then they start to innovate for different reasons. So what's really on their dashboard? What are they busy with? That could be one reason. Then if you talk about the next level, right, the working level doing innovation, right, again, is the whole culture of how am I seen is if I speak up, am I seen as troublesome? And if I speak up, let's say I tell boss, let's go to InnoPlus for competition, and in the end I fail, I didn't bring back the InnoPlus award, am I seen as a failure? So do less mistake, So again, the whole culture. But then if you say that, hey, our company tolerate mistake, then be very careful, because I think there must be a definition of what is a failure. If doing this knowing very well it will fail and you still choose to do, is called stupidity. If repeating the same mistake 2 times, that's stupidity. So we are talking about genuine mistakes, and I think some definition needs to go in there. But in a nutshell, I think innovation is not seen as a business priority, and that's why they never think of it. And now they start to notice, because there's funding and then there's design thinking, yeah, then you get a little bit of that movement coming in.
All right, thank you. And we talk about innovation. Sometimes some companies are KPI driven, cost driven. This is where my next question for Patrick. Is it expensive? When when companies come to you, I believe that's the main question people is asking. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think, it definitely is not going to be expensive. It's all up to, individual on what they are willing to afford for, different innovation. So to me, if you are basically looking at doing something, the cost is prohibiting, maybe buying equipment is prohibiting, then we have the cloud services where you basically go and use, and you just pay per use. So that brings down the cost inhibitors and make it affordable. So there are all these aspect of solutions out there where you can seek to make costs manageable for you. So I think this is the most essential part of it. So to me itself, innovation basically as a measure of expenditure is it can be totally free. Like you mentioned, there's a lot of funding, right? If we can tap some of this funding, right, some of the innovations can actually be totally free, right? So my take here is that if you are going to basically do innovation and you think that cost is your key factor, all right, then you should basically try to look for ways that you can reduce those costs to make it something affordable. So I think there are many affordable technologies out there. It's probably something for you to really open your mind and look for them. I hope this long answer is basically answering it completely.
All right, thank you. Okay, if I don't see any more questions, oh yeah, there's a question for Dr. Chen. Do you have any research on critical work factor for FTA?
May I clarify what do you mean by FTA? We like using acronyms, right?
If we live in Singapore, that's why we love SG. Jeffrey, would you want to clarify or free trade agreement?
Free trade, okay. We do not, IAL does not conduct any research on this, but I know that in other organizations like in NUS, they got something in it, and also other parts of the world like India and UK, they do have quite a few pieces on this, but I'm not an area in this. But if you're interested, I think do drop me a note. We can search, do a bit of search on this, or you can try Google Scholar and do your own research as well. Sorry, not being able to comment much on this.
All right, thank you. I think, thanks for all the interesting insights, the questions asked, and definitely we learned a lot from today. I can summarize it with 3T. Okay, you need to think. Okay, you need to try, and more importantly, use the right tech to help you innovate moving forward. So yes, before I close today's session, something very important for all of you to do, and I think this is where I need the IAL folks to help me share that QR code. This is not safe entry. This is their exit ticket. So you need to scan the QR code because we really love the feedback from all of you, because I think it makes all of us work harder. We know what we went well and what we did not do better, so that we can improve in the offerings that as a community we can provide for all of you as adult educators and for companies as well. So yes, please take about that short 1 minute to fill up the short survey. And while you are filling up that short survey, the recording and the slides for the session will be shared on IAL's website. And yes, I will hand the time back to Nilanjana, who any other information IAL would like to share with the participants.
Can I just jump in here, and I want everybody to know the day they invited me and I said yes, because I think sharing is the best way to learn. You have no idea the amount of planning these people took. So Nila and her team, amazing work, right? Dr. Chen and Patrick and Eunice, you can relate with me. The amount of planning, the amount of emails, the trying to make sure everything is so perfect. Nilan and the team, congratulations, and thank you for doing this for all of us.
Yes, let's give them a round of applause. Yay! Yeah.
Okay, back to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Linda. 1 second. Okay. Yes, thank you. I would say thank you for this terrific discussion and interaction. And we are thankful for the panel for preparing their valuable time, and rather sparing their valuable time and sharing with us about what it takes to innovate, especially the hows, how can you make it happen, the 3 Ts, the 4 Cs, all these are great takeaways. It's great to see case studies and use cases and how ground up innovation examples from Singapore and learn from them. Indeed, I don't think it's just to be open-minded, but also have the critical approach when trying to really look at improvement. Finally, I'd like to, we, the team at InLab, would like to give a special thanks to Miss Eunice as well for her stellar performance on hosting and managing this session. We hope everyone has enjoyed the session. One last thing, in other news, we have this really enriching bite-sized sharing that's coming up on the 21st of April, which talks about the art and science to learner engagement. How is the learning theories and AI meet all linking up together. Our speaker is Mr. Brian Tay, who is an experienced adult educator as well as a technologist. So if your time permits, please do come and join us for this. And thank you, everyone. We just would like your valuable suggestions for upcoming InnoLogs.
All right, thank you, everyone. Stay healthy. Yeah, I hope we can meet once again, yeah, at IAL. See you.